By the time you sit down for lunch today, uh, your brain will have processed somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20,000 micro decisions.
Which is just a massive number to wrap your head around.
Right? It's huge. And the crazy part is your brain is actively punishing you for it.
Oh, absolutely. It really is.
I mean, think about the last time you sat down on your couch after a long day. You know, you turn on Netflix, intending to just relax for a bit.
Yeah, the classic evening routine.
Exactly. But then you start scrolling.
Hmm.
And you watch a little snippet of a trailer here, you read a synopsis there, you add like 3 documentaries to your list that you know deep down you are never, ever going to actually watch.
We all do it.
Yeah.
The aspirational watch list.
Yeah. And then 30 minutes pass, you're completely exhausted by the whole process, and you ultimately just turn the television off and go to sleep.
It's so common.
Or consider the supermarket aisle. Have you ever found yourself just completely paralyzed under those fluorescent lights, holding like 2 different brands of toothpaste?
Staring at the boxes like it's a life or death situation.
Yes. You're fiercely comparing the tartar control promises of Mint versus the enamel protection of spearmint.
Right.
And you're treating this $3 purchase as if your entire future, your whole biological destiny, just hung in the balance.
It highlights a profoundly bizarre quirk in our modern psychology.
Yeah.
We are surrounded by all this triviality, yet we treat it with absolute gravity.
We really do.
You stand there squinting at the ingredients list on a tube of paste, feeling this crushing weight of responsibility, right? You're attempting to optimize a completely inconsequential moment.
And it bleeds into everything, you know?
Yeah.
Think about rewriting a simple 2-sentence email to a colleague like 5 different times before hitting send.
Oh, the email anxiety is real.
Meticulously analyzing whether an exclamation point makes you look too eager or if a period makes you look aggressive somehow.
Yeah, or swapping out your profile picture 20 times because you're agonizing over the specific vibe you're projecting.
Exactly. We do this all the time. But here is the core paradox that we're going to explore today in this deep dive.
Let's get into it.
We make those tens of thousands of decisions every single day. And the vast majority of them are incredibly small, ordinary, and fundamentally low risk.
Completely low risk.
Yet we treat these mundane choices like life-altering events, burning vast amounts of mental energy. But then on the flip side, we will sometimes make massive, truly life-changing decisions, like quitting a job or moving across the country in a fraction of the time.
Almost on a whim sometimes.
Right. So the disparity between how we handle the small stuff versus the big stuff is just endlessly fascinating to me.
Well, that's exactly why this deep dive is dedicated to exploring the profound insights from Daniel Kahneman's groundbreaking book, Thinking Fast and Slow.
It's such an incredible book.
It really is. Kahneman was a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist, and his work essentially provides the architectural blueprint for understanding how our minds process choices.
So what's our main mission today with all this?
The mission of our exploration today is to decode the actual wiring of your brain. We really want to understand the biological and psychological reasons why you overthink the smallest things.
Which is something we all desperately need.
Yeah, and to uncover how recognizing these specific mental patterns can, actually reduce your stress and free your mind from this endless, exhausting contemplation.
Okay, so to solve the mystery of overthinking, to figure out why you get trapped by toothpaste and streaming menus, we first have to look under the hood.
Right.
And Kahneman suggests that there are essentially 2 completely different characters operating inside your head at all times, just fighting for control of your behavior.
Yeah, he introduces us to 2 primary modes of thought, which he very simply calls System 1 and System 2.
Okay, System 1, System 2.
Let's start with System 1. You can think of this as your biological autopilot.
Autopilot, got it.
System 1 is fast, it is completely automatic, it's highly intuitive, and it is driven almost entirely by habits, emotions, and learned patterns that have been hardwired into you over years of repetition.
So this is like the part of your brain that takes the wheel when you're driving home from work on a really familiar route, and you pull into your driveway, but you don't even really remember the last 5 miles in the drive.
That is System 1 in its absolute purest form. Think about the actions that require virtually zero conscious effort.
Like what?
Well, you stop at a red light. You don't have to consciously calculate the physics of braking or the exact pressure required from your foot. Right.
Your leg just kind of does it.
Exactly. Your leg just applies the pressure.
Yeah.
Or you're walking down a crowded sidewalk and you instantly recognize a friend's face in a sea of strangers.
Oh, yeah. You don't even have to think about it.
Right. Or you swerve to avoid a cyclist on the road. You aren't pulling out a mental calculator to measure velocity, trajectory, and distance.
That would take way too long anyway.
Exactly. Your brain handles all of this in the background instantaneously without asking for your permission.
It kind of makes me think of a smartphone. Like System 1 is like all those essential background apps running quietly.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Because they keep the phone connected to Wi-Fi, they ping cell towers so you can receive texts, they update your location, things like that.
Right, all the invisible stuff.
All of this runs smoothly, keeping the device functioning without requiring any user input at all. You don't even know they're working, but they are constantly processing data to keep you, alive and functioning in the world.
The smartphone analogy is incredibly apt, honestly, especially when we extend it to the concept of battery life and processing power.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Just contrasting with that rapid, quiet background processing is System 2.
Okay, the second character.
Right. System 2 is the manual override. It is slower, it is highly logical, it is analytical, and it demands intense focus and your full, undivided attention.
So I assume System 2 wakes up when things get complicated. Like, if System 1 is the autopilot, System 2 is the pilot grabbing the yoke when there's severe turbulence.
That is exactly the mechanism. System 2 engages when I ask you to solve a difficult multi-step math problem in your head, like multiplying 17 by 24.
Yep, my brain just completely stalled even thinking about trying to do that.
See? That's System 2 booting up. Or when you are calculating your taxes. Or planning a comprehensive business strategy.
Stuff that requires real effort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or meticulously comparing the long-term benefits and salaries of two different job offers. And the most crucial thing to understand about System 2 is that it isn't just a metaphor for deep thought.
What do you mean?
It has a profound physiological footprint. When System 2 is engaged, you can physically measure the effort in your body.
Wait, really? Physically measure it?
Yes. Kahneman points out studies showing that when you are deeply engaged in complex thought, your pupils actually dilate significantly.
Wow, I had no idea.
Your heart rate increases. Your blood pressure goes up.
So you're saying there's a literal biological cost to thinking hard. It's the heavy lifting.
It is intensely demanding on your body. And the conflict, the reason you find yourself struggling so much in daily life, is that both systems are entirely essential for your survival, but the real trouble begins when they clash.
When they get their wires crossed.
Right, or when we attempt to use the wrong system for the wrong task.
Okay, so if System 2 is our logical powerhouse, right, this incredible analytical engine that allows human beings to build rockets, sequence genomes, do our taxes, why does it completely tap out and paralyze us when we're just trying to buy a cup of coffee?
To understand that failure, we really have to look at a critical biological reality. Your brain was meticulously designed by evolution to conserve energy at all costs.
Conserve energy.
While your brain only makes up about 2% of your body weight, it consumes roughly 20% of your body's energy.
That's a huge proportion.
It is. System 2 is mentally and calorically expensive. It literally metabolizes more glucose. It requires a tremendous amount of biological resources to keep that intense focus going.
So it's basically draining the battery.
Exactly. Therefore, whenever possible, the brain's default setting is to rely on System 1. It desperately wants to make quick judgments and save those mental calories for a true emergency.
But if our brains fundamentally want to be lazy, and I say that affectionately, if they are biologically programmed to just use System 1 and save energy, why do we end up overthinking the toothpaste?
That is the million-dollar question.
Shouldn't we just be making snap decisions all day long?
Yeah.
Like trusting our autopilot to handle the coffee orders so we can save our glucose for something actually important?
In a simpler ancestral environment, yes. Absolutely. A hunter-gatherer didn't have 40 types of berries to choose from in a perfectly lit supermarket aisle. They ate what was available.
You see a berry, eat the berry.
Exactly. But we don't live in a simpler world anymore. We live in an environment designed to short-circuit our biology, leading to a phenomenon known as choice overload.
Choice overload.
Yes. Modern consumer life actively bombards our simple, intuitive System 1 with entirely too many variables.
So it just gets overwhelmed.
Right. And when System 1 gets overwhelmed by variables it doesn't recognize as a familiar pattern, it panics. It throws its hands up and forces the exhausting System 2 to wake up and handle what should be a trivial task.
So we are essentially forcing our heavy-lifting, glucose-burning machinery to do menial labor, just because there are too many options on the menu.
We are weaponizing options against our own biology. Let's look closely at your coffee example because it's perfect.
Yeah, let's do it.
Decades ago, if you wanted coffee, coffee was just coffee. It was black liquid in a cup. Maybe you added milk or sugar.
Simple, easy.
Right. System 1 could handle that transaction without breaking a sweat. It was a deeply ingrained habit. But today,
Oh man, today it's a whole ordeal.
you walk into a modern cafe and you are immediately presented with a decision matrix. You must choose the size. Then the milk type, whole, skim, oat, almond, soy, macadamia.
Don't forget the temperature.
Exactly, the exact temperature, the flavor profile,
Yeah.
the type of sweetener, the brand of the roast, the price point.
It's exhausting just listing it all out.
Suddenly, what used to be a simple background task has become a complex algebraic equation.
You literally have to construct the beverage from scratch every single morning, evaluating the pros and cons of oat milk versus almond milk based on arbitrary articles you read 3 years ago.
And your poor system, too, is dragged out of bed to analyze all these combinations.
It's just too much.
This leads to a massive irony that Kahneman and other behavioral economists point out. We operate under this profound illusion of happiness when it comes to options.
An illusion of happiness.
Yes. Culturally, we assume that having more choices is intrinsically better, right? We think that choice equals freedom and freedom equals happiness.
Yeah, that's definitely the narrative we're sold.
But the psychological reality is that endless choice actually just makes choosing confidently much, much harder. It leaves us completely drained, perpetually dissatisfied, and far more anxious.
Because we've spent our entire daily mental budget on the milk selection before 9 a.m. But let me push back a bit here, because it's not just the act of choosing that exhausts us. Even after we do all that math and finally make the choice, the anxiety doesn't just vanish.
That's a very fair point.
Like once you finally pick the oat milk half-calf vanilla latte, or you finally buy the spearmint toothpaste, why do you still feel a lingering sense of unease?
The buyer's remorse, basically.
Yeah. Why can't we just pick an option, accept it, and peacefully move on with our day?
To explain that lingering unease, we have to look past the options themselves and examine what happens after the choice is finalized. Your brain fundamentally, biologically, hates regret.
It hates regret.
Yes, it perceives a suboptimal choice not just as a slight annoyance, but as a biological failure.
A biological failure. I mean, that seems kind of extreme for picking the wrong streaming show.
It is extreme for a streaming show, but you have to remember, your brain isn't wired for streaming shows. It's wired for survival on the savannah.
Right. Good point.
Let's use the smartphone example from the sources to illustrate how this plays out today.
Okay, let's hear it.
You agonize for weeks over 2 different smartphone models. You're reading reviews, comparing camera specs, looking at battery life.
Standard modern behavior.
Right. You finally make a choice, you pull out your credit card, you buy Model A. And then 2 days later, you happen to see an advertisement that Model B just went on a massive sale. What happens in your mind?
Oh, it's an immediate visceral spiral.
Yeah.
The thought is instantly, oh no, what if I made the wrong choice? I should have waited. I missed out. I am an absolute idiot.
Exactly. Kahneman codified this exact reaction in his famous concept of loss aversion, which has actually become a foundational pillar of behavioral economics.
Loss aversion. What does that mean exactly?
Loss aversion states that humans feel the pain of losing something far more intensely than we feel the pleasure of gaining something of the exact same objective value.
Interesting. But how much more intensely? Like, is it just a slight preference or is it a measurable psychological gap?
Oh, it is highly measurable. Kahneman and his colleagues conducted numerous experiments on this. One of the most famous is the mug experiment.
The mug experiment.
Yeah, so they would give half a room of students a simple coffee mug and the other half nothing.
Okay.
Then they asked the students with the mugs how much they would sell them for. They asked the students without mugs how much they would pay to buy one.
Let me guess. The prices didn't match.
Not even close. The people who owned the mug demanded roughly $7 to part with it, but the buyers were only willing to pay about $3.
Wow. Just because they were holding it?
Yes. Just the act of possessing the item made the thought of losing it feel painful, artificially inflating its value in their minds.
That's wild.
Mathematically speaking, the research shows that the psychological pain of losing $100 feels about twice as intense as the joy you get from unexpectedly gaining $100.
Twice as intense. That is a huge difference.
It really is. The pain of the loss is sharper, it lingers longer in your memory, and it changes your future behavior much more drastically than the joy of the gain.
Well, if we apply the evolutionary lens to that, it actually makes total sense.
How so?
If you're an ancient human and you find an extra bush of berries, That's a nice gain, eh? Maybe you have a good afternoon, you're full.
Right, a nice little bonus.
But if you lose your only supply of berries for the week, you die. The loss is an existential threat.
Exactly.
So our brains evolved to treat every potential loss as a matter of literal life and death.
Precisely. You are carrying an ancient survival mechanism right into the Apple Store.
Which means we aren't just overthinking the present moment. When you are staring at those two laptops or two smartphones, you are actually spending massive amounts of mental energy trying to time travel into the future.
Trying to prevent future regret.
Yes, you are trying to mathematically insulate yourself from that sharp ancient pain of loss, even for wildly unimportant modern conveniences. The fear of making the decision becomes significantly worse than the actual consequences of the decision itself.
You nailed it. You are exhausting System 2, trying to guarantee a future where you feel zero regret.
Which is impossible.
Exactly. And your brain, realizing it cannot sustain this level of energy output for every single choice in a modern grocery store, tries to find cheat codes.
The codes.
Yeah, it tries to find ways to make these decisions faster and bypass the heavy lifting of System 2 altogether.
We basically want to skip the math, but I'm guessing evolutionary cheat codes come with a pretty big catch when applied to modern life.
They absolutely do. While they keep us moving, those cheat codes can sometimes completely backfire on us, leading to even worse decision-making.
Let's explore how those cheat codes trick us, because we've all experienced this dynamic.
Oh, for sure.
Imagine a friend tells you, you have to try this new restaurant down the street. It has 5-star reviews online.
Okay.
Instantly, you believe it's amazing. You haven't seen the kitchen. You haven't tasted a single bite of the food. You don't even know if your friend has the same culinary taste as you.
But you're in.
Completely. You are entirely 100% sold. Why is the brain so eager to jump on board without any actual evidence?
That is System 1 at work again, deploying what Kahneman calls heuristics.
Heuristics.
Yeah, heuristics are simply mental shortcuts. They are rules of thumb that allow us to skip analyzing every single granular detail of a situation.
Because doing that would be exhausting.
Right. Remember the biological imperative. The brain wants to save energy. If it had to investigate the supply chain, the health inspection records, and the culinary background of every chef before eating at a restaurant.
You would literally starve to death while doing the research.
Exactly. So it relies on a shortcut. Lots of stars equals safe and good. And honestly, most of the time, in daily functioning, these heuristics are absolute lifesavers.
They act as a filter so we don't have to process the entire world from scratch every morning.
Exactly. But there is a dark side to heuristics, particularly one that Kahneman prominently identifies as the availability heuristic.
The availability heuristic, what is that?
This mental shortcut dictates that the easier something is to recall from your memory, the more common or probable your brain automatically assumes it is.
Okay, so if I can remember it easily, my brain thinks it happens all the time.
Exactly.
How does that shortcut actually distort our reality, though?
The most visceral example from Kahneman's work is the perception of flying versus driving.
Oh, this is a classic one.
Right. You turn on the television and you hear a horrific, dramatic news story about a plane crash.
Which is always terrifying.
The imagery is vivid, the interviews are highly emotional, the footage is replayed on every screen you look at for a week.
You can't escape it.
Then, a month later, you have to book a flight for a business trip, and suddenly, flying feels incredibly dangerous to you. You feel genuine physiological anxiety when you click purchase on the ticket.
Even though logically, if we just look at the raw numbers, we all know the statistics.
System 2 knows the statistics. Your logical brain knows that driving your car to the supermarket, an ordinary, everyday event that you execute without a second thought, remains exponentially far riskier statistically than getting on a commercial airplane.
It's not even close, statistically.
Not at all. But System 1 doesn't understand statistics. System 1 only understands vivid memories and emotional salience. The plane crash is highly available in your memory because of the dramatic news coverage, so your autopilot brain assumes it is a highly probable event.
Wow. If we scale this up and apply it to modern life, specifically to how you consume daily media, it explains so much about our collective societal anxiety.
It really does. It's foundational to it.
I mean, news headlines, social media algorithms, the 24-hour news cycles, they are essentially weaponizing the availability heuristic against us. They
Complete.
constantly feed us dramatic, rare, or terrifying events because that is what captures human attention and generates ad revenue. But our System 1 internalizes all of that anomalous data and completely distorts our baseline perception of reality.
Right, because it's so available.
We start genuinely believing the world is far more dangerous, unstable, or hostile than the data suggests it actually is, which just feeds right back into our anxiety and our tendency to overthink every move we make.
It creates a self-sustaining feedback loop of perceived threat. You feel threatened, so you seek out more information to protect yourself, which only exposes you to more vivid, threatening anomalies.
And because on some level we vaguely know that we can be tricked, we know we can't always trust our immediate emotional reactions to the scary news headlines, we try to protect ourselves by doing our own quote-unquote research.
Ah, yes, the research phase.
We tell ourselves, I won't be fooled by marketing or bias. I'm going to look into this deeply. But that instinct just marches us straight into another psychological trap entirely.
The trap of the endless scroll?
Yes. Let's walk through the all-too-familiar journey mentioned in our sources, buying a laptop.
This is a perfect example of how research goes wrong.
You need a new laptop for work. It should be simple enough. You start by comparing two popular models. Just a nice A versus B comparison.
Very reasonable.
But then you notice Model B has a slightly different processor architecture than Model C, so now you're comparing 4 models.
And it spirals from there.
Which quickly metastasizes into 8. Soon, you have 20 tabs open across 3 different browsers. You are drowning in dozens of tech blogs, YouTube comparison videos, endless Reddit threads where strangers are viciously arguing about, cooling fan decibel levels.
Things you didn't even know existed yesterday.
Exactly. Benchmark scores that you frankly do not possess the technical background to even understand, and battery life charts mapped over time.
It's overwhelming.
Hours and hours pass. You've sacrificed your entire evening. And at the end of the night, you are no closer to a decision than when you started. In fact, you're further away, feeling more confused and paralyzed.
What you've just described is the clinical anatomy of a spiral. It is analysis paralysis in its purest, most modern form.
Analysis paralysis.
Yes, and the core misconception driving this behavior is that we inherently believe more information will naturally, linearly lead to a better, more confident decision.
Which seems logical.
It does. We treat information like gold. The more you hoard, the richer your decision will be. But in a state of analysis paralysis, more information is no longer illuminating the path. It is actively delaying the decision and massively increasing your cognitive load.
I have to admit, I really struggle with this one.
Most people do.
Why doesn't it help? If I'm about to drive $2,000 on a machine I'm going to use every single day for 5 years, shouldn't knowing absolutely everything about the thermal throttling of those laptops make the choice obvious?
It feels like it should, but it ignores the mathematical concept of diminishing returns in research.
Diminishing returns. Okay, break that down for me.
Let's say the first 3 articles you read give you 80% of what you need to know to make a solid, functional choice.
That's good baseline.
The next 5 articles might only give you an additional 5% of clarity. The 10 Reddit threads after that give you 0 extra value.
0.
In fact, they often provide negative value because they introduce contradictory opinions, edge case manufacturing defects, and highly subjective preferences that just muddy your original criteria.
Well, that makes sense. You start caring about things you didn't even care about originally.
Exactly. At a certain point, extra research provides 0 actionable value. But your brain keeps digging because it falsely, desperately believes that total 100% certainty is just one more article away. It's chasing a ghost.
But is it really chasing a ghost? Isn't it responsible to want to be sure? I mean, we are taught to be informed consumers.
Right.
Isn't it better to eliminate all the variables before spending a significant portion of your paycheck?
It feels like the responsible adult thing to do, yes. But Kahneman's wisdom and the reality of the text we're diving into today reminds us of a harsh, inescapable truth.
Which is?
Complete certainty rarely exists in real life.
Never.
Almost never. It is an illusion manufactured by a brain that is terrified of loss. True decision-making skill is not the ability to aggressively research until you are perfectly certain.
What is it then?
That's just data hoarding. True decision-making skill is the psychological discipline of learning when good enough is actually good enough.
Wow. It's the discipline of knowing when to close the tabs, even when there's a voice in your head screaming that you might miss a crucial detail.
Exactly. Because this desperate, exhausting search for total certainty, this obsessive need to know every single benchmark score in customer review, it stems from a deeply human misunderstanding about how much influence we actually hold over the world around us.
The mirage of control.
We use thinking as a proxy for control.
More about that.
Humans inherently desperately want to believe we have more command over our destinies than we actually do. So we carefully plan our lives. We construct elaborate spreadsheets.
Oh, I love a good spreadsheet.
Right. We imagine every possible permutation and outcome of a decision. We believe that if we just think hard enough, if we engage System 2 for long enough and burn enough glucose, we can mathematically eliminate uncertainty from our future.
But the text makes it painfully clear. Life just refuses to work that way.
It really does.
We can research the perfect mutual fund for 6 solid months, analyzing historical yields and expense ratios. But global markets still fluctuate based on macroeconomic events we couldn't possibly predict or control.
Exactly.
We can spend a year planning the perfect, highly choreographed outdoor wedding, but a freak storm can still roll in. We can choose the perfect partner on paper, but people evolve and change. The unexpected always inevitably happens.
Which means all that agonizing overthinking is just an illusion of control. You aren't actually managing the future.
You're just spinning your wheels.
Right. You are merely replaying possibilities in your head in a closed, isolated loop, burning energy to soothe your own anxiety.
So it's basically a coping mechanism.
Exactly. The key distinction here is crucial for anyone trying to break this habit. Preparation is highly useful. Obsession is not.
That is a great way to put it.
Preparation ends when the relevant facts are gathered. Obsession continues long after the facts have stopped being useful.
That distinction really strikes a nerve. So what does this all mean for how we view ourselves? Because I think we often disguise our overthinking.
We definitely do.
We mask it to our friends, and more importantly, we mask it to ourselves as a virtue. We say we are being, responsible or detail-oriented or thorough. But if we pull that mask off...
If you unmask it, what's really driving the engine behind this behavior is perfectionism.
Perfectionism.
We demand the perfect decision. We want the flawless career path that fulfills us creatively while paying exceptionally well and offering perfect work-life balance.
The Holy Grail.
Right. We want the perfect romantic relationship with zero friction. We want the flawless investment opportunity that has massive upside and absolutely zero downside risk.
And the fatal flaw of demanding perfection before you make a move.
The fatal flaw is that waiting for perfect information guarantees that you will miss incredibly valuable opportunities.
Because you're too busy researching to actually act.
Exactly. The sources highlight a fundamental, unifying truth about highly successful people. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They do not wait for 100% certainty.
What do they do instead?
They make reasonable, well-informed decisions based on the imperfect data they have right now, and then they adapt, pivot, and course-correct as new information arrives.
So they adjust on the fly.
Right. In the messy reality of the real world, forward progress always beats theoretical perfection.
So if overthinking and relying entirely on endless logic in System 2 can paralyze us with perfectionism and the illusion of control,
Yeah.
and if System 1 is this rapid-fire autopilot prone to being tricked by the availability heuristic,
Right, they both have major flaws.
maybe we should just bypass the research entirely. We hear the phrase all the time, trust your gut. Should we just lean into our intuition and let the chips fall where they may?
This raises a very important question, and it's a specific area where Kahneman's work is frequently and dangerously misunderstood in popular culture.
Oh, really? Does Kahneman think intuition is just totally useless because it's full of evolutionary shortcuts and biases?
Not at all. Kahneman, along with researchers like Gary Klein, deeply acknowledges that there are professionals with incredibly powerful, highly accurate, intuitive skills.
Like who?
Think about experienced firefighters who walk into a burning building, assess the smoke, and suddenly just quote-unquote know the floor is about to collapse, ordering their crew out mere seconds before a disaster.
Wow, yeah.
Or consider experienced emergency room doctors who can glance at a patient's pallor and breathing rate and instantly diagnose a rare condition before the lab results even come back.
That's incredible.
Or chess grandmasters who can look at a highly complex board configuration for 3 seconds and instantly know the next 10 viable moves.
For them, their System 1 is practically a superpower. They aren't consciously calculating all that stuff, they're just reacting perfectly.
It is a superpower. But here is the critical defining difference that we often ignore. Their intuition is built on years and years of recognizing deep patterns, receiving immediate feedback, and accumulating vast, specific experience in a very particular, governed environment.
So it didn't just come out of nowhere.
Right. It is what we call earned intuition.
Earned intuition. That phrasing changes everything.
It really does.
It means the gut feeling didn't just appear magically out of the ether. They paid for it with thousands of hours of rigorous practice and failure.
Exactly. The firesider's gut feeling is actually their brain rapidly matching the current smoke patterns against thousands of previous fires they've fought.
It's pattern recognition on overdrive.
But contrast that earned intuition with unfamiliar, novel situations.
Okay, give me an example.
Imagine someone deciding to day trade in the stock market for the very first time, or a couple walking into a house and feeling like it's the right property to buy without an inspection.
Oh, that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Or someone starting a tech company with absolutely no prior business or engineering experience. In these scenarios, what feels like a profound intuition, that strong, undeniable gut feeling telling you to buy that crypto coin or sign that mortgage, is usually just raw, unchecked emotion masquerading as expertise.
That is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
So in novel situations, what we call trusting our gut is really just unearned intuition.
Exactly.
It's just fear or excitement or greed or the availability heuristic wearing a clever disguise.
Precisely. You are mistaking an emotional impulse for profound insight.
So what's the rule here?
The rule of thumb here is quite elegant.
Mm-hmm.
Trust your intuition only when you have earned it through deep, repetitive experience in a highly stable environment where you get immediate feedback.
And if you haven't?
If you haven't earned it, if you are stepping into uncharted territory, you must consciously force yourself to slow down, ignore the gut feeling, and engage the analytical machinery of System 2.
That is such a clarifying framework. So we've covered the underlying psychology, the biological push and pull of System 1 and System 2.
Right.
We've covered the draining traps of choice overload and loss aversion, the illusion of perfectionism, and the stark difference between earned and unearned intuition.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Understanding the why and how behind our behavior is fascinating. It truly is. But let's take this knowledge and make it actionable.
Yes, let's get practical.
It's time to equip you with the how. How do we actually intervene and break this exhausting cycle in our day-to-day lives?
It's vital to have practical, deployable tools because the stakes of not fixing this are surprisingly high.
Before we get into the 5 specific solutions from our sources, we have to recognize the hidden cost of all this overthinking.
It's a huge cost.
It doesn't just annoy us. It doesn't steal your money or your intelligence. It steals your most finite resource.
Your time and your energy.
Yes, it steals your physical energy. That steals your peace of mind. Every single hour that you spend obsessing over tiny, inconsequential choices, every evening lost to the laptop tabs, is an hour that you are not actually living. It is life unlived while you wait for certainty.
The text provides a wonderfully grounded, everyday example of this hidden cost.
Oh, let's hear it.
Imagine 2 people who decide they want to get in shape. Person A is the overthinker. They spend 3 weeks researching the absolute perfect workout plan.
I know this person. I have been this person.
Right. They compare the pricing tiers of 6 different gym memberships. They read conflicting reviews on running shoes. They study the optimal macronutrient ratios for muscle growth versus fat loss. And they download 3 different tracking apps.
They've done everything except exercise.
Exactly. Now, person B doesn't do any of that. Person B just puts on whatever beat-up sneakers they already own and goes for a 20-minute walk outside today, and they do it again tomorrow.
A month later, who has improved their cardiovascular health more?
The one who acted. Small, highly imperfect actions will reliably, consistently beat perfect plans that never leave the notebook.
Every single time.
Life rewards forward movement. It does not reward endless contemplation.
With that stark reality in mind, let's get into the tactical side. The sources provide 5 simple, highly practical strategies to short-circuit the overthinking spiral. Let's break them down.
Sounds good.
I'll start us off. Strategy number 1, the 1-year test.
I love this one.
You have to train your brain to quickly recognize when a decision is actually small, because your brain will try to convince you every decision is massive.
Right, because of that loss aversion.
Exactly. When you feel that familiar anxiety rising in the supermarket aisle, or when you're staring at the Netflix menu, or when you are agonizing over an email, force a pause. Stop and ask yourself this specific question. Will the outcome of this specific choice matter 1 year from now?
It's such a simple question, but it's brilliant.
If the answer is no, which it almost always is for daily consumer choices, you have to consciously stop treating it like a life-changing event.
That perspective shift is incredibly powerful because it instantly deflates the artificial pressure you've created. You are telling your brain, there is no existential threat here, stand down.
Exactly. Turn off the alarms.
Strategy number 2 is just as structural. Cap your options.
Happier option.
You have to actively, intentionally combat choice overload. If you are shopping for a new home appliance or picking a hotel for an upcoming vacation, do not allow yourself to look at 20 options.
Oh, that's hard to do.
It is, but you must intentionally and strictly limit yourself to comparing just 3 items. By artificially restricting your choices, you drastically reduce the mental fatigue on System 2. Less choices equal less exhaustion and higher satisfaction with the final pick.
I can hear people resisting that one right now. Capping options sounds terrifying to the perfectionist part of the brain.
Of course it does.
What if the fourth option, the one you refuse to look at, was the absolute best one? What if it had the perfect balance of price and features?
That is exactly the voice of loss aversion speaking. You are mourning the loss of a hypothetical perfect option.
Wow, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
You have to accept that while the fourth option might be 5% better, the cognitive cost of finding it will drain 50% of your energy. The math doesn't work in your favor. Bounding the problem saves your energy for things that actually matter.
That makes perfect sense. Strategy number 3, set a timer.
This one is a game changer.
This is huge for anyone trapped in analysis paralysis. Give yourself a strict, non-negotiable deadline. Say out loud, I have exactly 30 minutes to research this, or I will make a final decision by 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Put it on a clock.
Yes. Once that timer goes off, you make the choice based exclusively on the information you have gathered up to that point. And here is the most difficult, most important part of this strategy. You refuse to reopen the case.
No going back.
You don't go back a week later and check if the other option went on sale. You close the tab, mentally and literally.
The discipline of not reopening the case leads perfectly into strategy number 4, embrace the unknown.
Embrace the unknown.
You must accept the fundamental, unavoidable truth that all choices, even the most thoroughly researched, meticulously planned ones, carry some degree of uncertainty.
Because we don't control the weather or the markets.
Exactly. You could make a brilliant, highly logical decision today using all available data, and it might still yield a bad outcome tomorrow because of unpredictable factors entirely outside your control. Kahneman's philosophy urges us to judge ourselves on the quality of our thinking process in the moment we made the decision, not on the random luck of the outcome.
Judge the process, not the outcome. That is incredibly freeing. If you did the best you could with the information you had, you have to let yourself off the hook if the weather ruins the event.
You have to.
And finally, strategy number 5, action overthinking. Always remember that taking action actually generates the clarity you are desperately looking for.
This ties right back to the gym example.
Exactly. Thinking forever rarely produces clarity. It usually just produces more mental fog. When you act, you collide with reality. You get real-world feedback, and then you can course correct based on facts, not just theoretical projections.
If we synthesize all these strategies, it really defines what it actually means to be a highly effective decision maker in a complex world.
So what is the ultimate blueprint here? What is the overarching goal we're aiming for?
The overarching philosophy is that the goal is not to become some unfeeling, reckless robot who stops thinking altogether. We aren't advocating for blind impulsivity.
Right. We still need to think sometimes.
The goal is to think wisely and allocate your biological resources efficiently. You want to deploy System 1 for the routine, mundane, low-stakes tasks of daily life. Let it handle the toothpaste, the coffee, the mundane emails.
Save the battery.
Yes. And you want to fiercely protect and reserve your System 2 energy for the monumental, truly impactful decisions, who you marry, the career you choose, your core values. You want to learn to recognize your own cognitive biases, accept that uncertainty is a permanent feature of existence, and above all, stop confusing endless, circular thinking with actual forward progress.
That is the profound reframe we all need. And I think Daniel Kahneman leaves us with an ultimate, incredibly comforting lesson.
He really does.
When you find yourself spinning out over a small choice, it doesn't mean your mind is, like, broken. You aren't uniquely flawed or uniquely anxious.
Yeah.
Your brain is just dutifully following predictable, ancient evolutionary patterns that were originally designed to protect you, to help you fear regret and to seek certainty in a highly dangerous world.
Exactly. Once you see the machinery working, once you can recognize system 1 and system 2 interacting and sometimes clashing, you can stop fighting yourself.
You can just observe it.
Right. You realize that your daily habits, your character, the way you treat the people around you, your resilience and your consistency over time, those are the heavy variables that actually determine the quality of your life, not which brand of toothpaste you buy on a Tuesday afternoon.
Small things are just small things. As we wrap up this exploration, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Let's hear it.
We've talked a lot today about the paralyzing fear of making the wrong choice. But building on this idea that action is what actually creates clarity. What if the only truly fundamentally wrong decision you can make in life isn't picking the wrong option, but letting the fear of choosing paralyze you from moving forward at all?
That is the ultimate trap to avoid. Refusing to choose is, in itself, a choice, and often the most costly one.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of the mind. Take these strategies into your week, try the one-year test, and see if it doesn't give you a little bit of your time and peace of mind back. Keep learning, keep growing, trust yourself, and we'll see you in the next deep dive. Oh, and if you enjoyed unpacking the psychology behind our daily lives, please subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing you these insights.